Good day, everyone. It's my absolute privilege and pleasure to welcome you to the 2024-25 series of City and Guilds workshops in Math and English. We are delighted that you have taken the time to join us today, and so we thank all the teachers, the heads of department, the many principals across the length and breadth of Jamaica who have supported us and who, more importantly, have stayed committed to us. We thank you so much. You know, we consider it an honor to be able to offer certifications, our certification in Math and English, to students here in Jamaica and in other territories of the region. We are just so very proud of all that we've been able to achieve, and we want to thank the government of Jamaica and in particular the Ministry of Education and Youth for their confidence in City and Guilds in allowing us to participate in the certification options for students here. This morning, I want to thank two principals who have taken the time to endorse us. They are Major Hall from Tarrant High School and Mr. Wayne Robinson from Jamaica College. We also thank our Chief Education Officer of Ministry of Education and Youth, Mrs. Terry Ann Thomas Gale, who is bringing greetings for us this morning. And our presenters, of course, for Math and English. And it is my sincerest hope that you will benefit from the contents of this workshop. You know, we've been offering our tutorial workshops for many years, and they've proven to be very useful to teachers based on the feedback that we've got. This morning, I'm particularly pleased that we're joined by educators in other territories beyond Jamaica. And I'm speaking to our colleagues joining us from Barbados, from Bermuda, from the Bahamas, from the British Virgin Islands and the Cayman Islands. We're so very happy that you have come on board, and we look forward to serving you. I am humbled that for the last 20 years, it's been my joy to represent City and Guilds here in the Caribbean. And I thank each of you for your support, for your encouragement along the way. Of course, I've had too many birthdays, so it's time for me to step back. So this year, 24 to 25, is a year of transition. And we just continue to give God thanks in all things. You know, my personal motto is that gratitude unlocks the bounty of life, and I've lived it. So I'm so very pleased to be here with you, and we look forward to a wonderful, productive day. So it's a new academic year, and we're at a new location. Actually, we're here in our boardroom, and it's my absolute delight to introduce you to our hardworking and dedicated team here at the City and Guilds Caribbean Rep Office.
Hello, my name is Ventley Brown, Chief Business Executive here at the City and Guilds Caribbean Representative Office. My specific responsibility entails managing over 200 high schools under the Ministry of Education's platform and portfolio. I wish for you all the best for the new school year and continue to believe you can.
Hi, my name is Brandon Chin. I'm the Administrative Manager. I'm here to wish you a productive session and all the best for the upcoming school year.
Hi, my name is Denita Benjamin Johnson, Senior Customer Service Officer. I provide world-class customer service to ensure that queries are readily addressed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chantel Perkins, Senior Lead Operations Officer at the City and Guilds Rep Office. I ensure that your candidates are registered to sit our exams. I wish for you a successful academic year 2024-2025.
Good day, everyone. I am Carlisle Myers. I am the Senior Project Officer, for which I have direct oversight for the Skills Proficiency Awards and also Quality Assurance. I am wishing you a productive workshop and all the best for the new academic year. Blessings.
Hi, I am Rashid Reed, Business Development Officer here at the City and Guilds Caribbean Representative Office. My role includes but is not limited to the training and onboarding of new centers. Overall, I assist the team with achieving our goal to certify people across the region. I look forward to supporting you in academic year 2024 and beyond. Thank you.
Hi, good day. I'm Shan Sterling, the marketing exec for the City and Guilds Rep office. I wish for you a productive year.
As is customary in our workshops and with your permission, I'd like to share some slides about City and Guilds that I think you may find interesting. And for those of you who may have seen it already, there are some updates that I think you'll appreciate. So colleagues, we know that City and Guilds is a British exam body with headquarters in the UK. And here is our motto. The City and Guilds of London Institute is committed to developing the skills of people and organizations to secure their personal and economic growth and prosperity. Ours are competence-based exams. And what is competence? It's the ability to perform a task or job successfully by using a combination of knowledge, skills, and attitude, and is measured against a standard. This ability can be acquired through experience and or training and potentially demonstrated by qualifications. And here are some facts about City and Guilds. At a glance, I won't be going through all of them, just a few. Although City and Guilds have some 500 plus qualifications that are on offer in the UK, they're not all available on the international market. And we here at the City and Guilds Rep office, we work with City and Guilds International. Of course, we've been around since 1878, so you could say we've been around for a very long time. There are 83 countries in which City and Guilds is offered, and we have certified more than 30 million successful learners. And I just want to have a look at what I consider to be the key strengths of our City and Guilds qualifications. Progression. Our qualifications offer a clear progression pathway for learners. You know, we take you all the way to the top from the entry level. Portability. Our qualifications act as a benchmark for skills globally and are widely recognized and respected. In other words, you can take City and Guilds with you wherever life should find you. And of course, aspirations. Each learner has hopes and dreams for themselves, for their careers, how they see themselves. And City and Guilds gives people the skills that will help equip them to reach their goals, whether that's getting a job, moving on to another job, moving into training, or even growing your own business. Recognition. City and Guilds are recognized throughout the world by educational institutions, professional bodies, and employer associations, which means that a City and Guilds certification can really open doors. And employability. Because they're developed with the help of industry experts and are workplace relevant, City and Guilds qualifications equip people for doing a real job, benefiting them and their employers. I want to have a look at our impact in the region. You know, the Minister of Education and Youth in Jamaica engaged us for 3 separate contracts. Our most recent contract was signed in November 2019. It's a 10-year contract for the delivery of our Math and English skills qualifications, the Skills Proficiency Award, customer service, and engineering. We've also been engaged with the Ministries of Education in Barbados, Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the British Virgin Islands, and the Cayman Islands. All these ministries are approved City and Guilds centers, and they deliver qualifications in Math and English. We offer digital badges to successful candidates for each of these qualifications. And I want to just speak a bit about our expanded partnership with the Heart NSBA Trust, where we've delivered our Skills Proficiency Awards across all 16 occupational pathways. And to date, We have certified 7,300 heart learners with our skills. Our certificate in employability skills was selected by the Office of the Prime Minister for the rollout of the LIFT program. It's a very interesting program of study comprising 10 modules that were specifically chosen to meet the objectives of the program. The initial cohort graduated in December 2023, and we're committed to training 500 learners each year. Our qualifications in math and English, of course, are also being offered in heart academies across Jamaica. We have what we call an assured model, and which is usually referred to as accreditation. And we have 7 such private training providers whose programs of study are quality assured by us here in Jamaica, in the Bahamas, in the Cayman Islands, and in Trinidad. And these are our clients across the region. You're identifying with the flag of Barbados, where you will see the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, and all the schools that we serve listed. Trinidad and Tobago, you see their flag, and of course all the centers that we support, with Trinidad being our oldest client in Trinidad, where we've had a presence for some 6 decades. Bermuda, with the Ministry of Education, and there are the schools that are listed. In Grenada, with the Community College, and of course with St. Joseph's Convent. In the Bahamas, with the ministry itself, and of course the Technical Cadet Corps, also associated with the ministry, and we're so excited about our business opportunities in these territories. Then there's the Cayman Islands, where we are in partnership with the Department of Education, and of course the University College of the Cayman Islands, and Her Majesty's Cayman Prisons and others, with the British Virgin Islands, with Guyana, with Antigua, and of course here in Jamaica, where we partner with the Ministry of Education and Youth, and we serve some 200 secondary high schools. We partner with the Heart NSPA, and we serve their training academies across Jamaica, with Distinction College, with the United Career Assessment Services Institute, and others here in Jamaica. And here's the big picture. And to us it really is a big thing. We're so pleased to report that we have issued 208,000 certificates across our association with the Ministry of Education and Youth since 2011-2024. And I want us to have a look. What you're looking at here are the success rates in each year. So if you look at the calendar year 2024, for exams that were sat in June 2024, you're looking at 56% of the cohort having passed our math skills. And we're particularly proud of this. In particular, at a time in our region where there's so much focus and emphasis on math because of the disappointing performance with the regional exam. Our English, the performance came in at 74%. So the overall pass rate for the 30,000 plus registered candidates was 65%. And a little bit about our math and English. Of course, the presenters are going to go more in depth for each of these workshops, but our math and English are offered across 3 stages, with stage 3 being the highest and mapping closest with the regional CSEC. Importantly, each stage is a freestanding single subject with its own certification, so you don't need to start at stage 1 to move on to stage 2 to stage 3. Basically, we provide a diagnostic test that assesses, in our judgment, which is the best stage for a candidate to be registered, and the certification is within each of the stages. Math skills is assessed by a multiple choice paper that is set and marked in England. English skills is broken down into 2 modules, There is a written paper that is set and marked in London, the reading and writing, and then there is a speaking and listening, which is internally assessed, really an oral exam. We offer certificates of unit credit to each of the components, and for those successful candidates who achieve success in both, they receive an overarching certificate in English skills. We try harder. You know, our tagline is believe you can, believe you can. So each year we try and provide as much tutorial support as possible to ensure that our teachers and our students are well prepared, our teachers properly supported to deliver, and our students well supported to succeed. So we offer these tutorial workshops, such as is happening today, in math, English, skills and customer service. And for 2024, we're actually offering 3 face-to-face workshops here in Jamaica, which were planned for October. And these will be across the skill areas and in engineering. We offer student presentations here in Jamaica. And in the last academic year, we did 100 plus presentations to different schools across the length and breadth of our island. We provide tutorial materials, the syllabus and specimen papers. In fact, we now have 13 sets of math and English papers that we share with you, which can be given to your students for practice. We offer training for registration via our walled garden, and all schools have access to Smart Screen, which is a tutorial platform that is so very useful. Textbooks are also available in math and English, and each year we provide a mock exam. So the June 2024 exam papers in math and English will be used as the mock exam papers in this academic year later on in 2025. With the support of the Ministry of Education here in Jamaica, we have achieved the following formal endorsements. Candidates with a Stage 3 qualification in Math and English are accepted for recruitment in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Jamaica Defence Force, the Ministry of the Public Services, and we have MOUs with the Jamaica Employers Federation. Our qualifications have been vetted and approved by the University Council of Jamaica. And there's more recognition. Several of our local universities, tertiary level entities, have recognized and will accept City and Guilds Stage 3 of Math and English for matriculation to certain undergraduate programs of study. We're pleased to say that the University of the West Indies is included in this group. I'd like to speak a little bit about our Skills Proficiency Awards, because this is really a unique assessment strategy. There is no written paper. So the assessment is via practical tasks, oral questions, and evidence by way of a portfolio under the oversight of a City and Guilds quality assurer. And here are the areas that we offer through the Ministry of Education and Youth: carpentry, electrical installation, fabrication, welding and pipeworks, IT for office application, masonry, food and beverage, food preparation, plumbing, motorcycle repair, motor vehicle engineering, painting and decoration. So as I've just shared, this year we are so attuned to the importance of skill development that we are investing in 3 face-to-face workshops across Jamaica. One will be in Kingston, one will be in central Jamaica, and the other will be in the west. So we hope to be able to properly acquaint our TVET teachers with best practice in delivery of all of these pathways, as well as in making them more compliant with our quality assurance standards. Here is our performance. So in 2024, we had 94 schools participating, and we received registrations for 4,541 students. So overall, the certification rate, because it's just a pass or fail, is 71%. So we're pleased to say and to report to you that we've been able to improve our performance over this 3-year period of analysis, where we're coming from 59% in 2022 to 65% in 2023. We're now pleased to say that we have broken the 70 percentile mark. We're at 71%. Customer service. This is such a wonderful and unique qualification. It's important to note that this qualification sits on the British qualification framework and is accredited by Ofqual. It is globally recognized. So we're offering it at 2 levels. Level 1, which is a certificate, and level 2 is diploma. And of course, we offer all the support materials to ensure effective delivery of this qualification. So just think about how badly we need good customer service, whether it be in school or across different industries, the tourism industry, banking, and of course the business process outsourcing. Here in Jamaica, staffing reports that some 50,000 Jamaicans are employed in the BPO sector. It's also needed in healthcare, in insurance, and just general client representation. We see this as such a critically important qualification in growing our economy, not just here in Jamaica, but in other territories across the region. And here is a performance analysis. So in 2022, we had only 2,570 candidates registered from our schools. And in 2024, it had grown to 7,335. But we've also improved tremendously on the certification rate, which means that our teachers are delivering more effectively. We're looking at a 41 percentile rate in 2022, 51% in 2023, and 64% in 2024, which was quite an improvement. Well done, teachers of Jamaica. Now, the Ministry of Education and Youth here in Jamaica did a relaunch in collaboration with City and Guilds in November of 2023. And there is a serious commitment to continue the work that was commenced just before the pandemic. So this qualification will now be offered through the Sixth Form Pathway Program in this academic year. The curriculum is delivered over a 2-year period, and it is ranked as a high-order STEM program of study. Certification is available from participating schools from level 1. And of course, at level 3, successful candidates achieve the designation of engineering technician, which facilitates post-nominal letters, EngTech. So far, some 28 principals have said that they're willing to come on board with engineering, and it is our hope to have a successful workshop face-to-face in October. Here is a look at the Engineering Learner Guide. So you will see that it's a journey. Level 1 basically produces a trainee technician, but we can take you all the way to level 7 to become a chartered engineer. Of course, within our school system, we're only looking to offer levels 1, 2, and 3. Digital badging. All successful candidates for math and English, customer service, and skills proficiency receive a paper certificate along with their digital badge. And we noticed that students have been increasingly clamoring for their digital badges. So we're asking all our teachers to ensure that students have a professional email address. We know that while they're in school, they typically are assigned an email address with the school's domain. But we're suggesting that as they enter the adult world, you consider having them assume a professional email address because this is their badge for life. They'll be able to produce it anywhere that they should be and at any time that they wish. So here we are. We look forward to hearing from you. We're at relocated offices here at the Trade Center on Red Hills Road in Kingston, Jamaica. We have new telephone numbers. You can also reach us via WhatsApp. We're all available to serve. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Colleagues, it is an honor to address you at the City and Guilds 2024 workshop series, focusing on critical areas such as mathematics, English, skills proficiency awards, customer service, and engineering. Today we gather not just to celebrate our achievements, but to chart a path forward for Jamaica's educational landscape. We must collaborate to ensure that our educational programs equip students with the competencies needed in today's dynamic market. I would like to highlight the recent collaboration between the MOEY and City and Guilds on the engineering qualification, which was launched in November 2023. Since then, 28 principals have expressed their commitment to integrating this curriculum into their sixth form pathways for this academic year. This initiative provides students with the opportunity to achieve the designation of engineering technicians at level 3 advanced diploma, allowing them to earn post-nominal letters that signify their qualification. City and Guilds have always been committed to excellence in vocational education and training. Their mission aligns seamlessly with the Ministry of Education and Youth's Transformation Education for National Development Trend initiative, particularly Pillar 3, which focuses on teaching, curriculum, and teacher training. Pillar 3 emphasizes the importance of empowering educators to create impactful learning experiences. This is a goal we wholeheartedly support and strive to achieve through our programs. By integrating City and Guilds internationally recognized certification and training standards, we can enhance the quality of vocational education in Jamaica, ensuring that our students not only prepare for local market, but also competitive on the global scale. As we move forward, it is essential that we place greater emphasis on preparing our students for oral assessments. These skills are vital for their future success in both academic and professional settings. Additionally, our nation requires a more skillful workforce to enhance productivity level across sectors. In the days ahead, we'll focus on refining our skills, exploring innovative teaching approaches, and sharing best practices to elevate our programs further. I encourage you to engage fully and ask questions and learn from the wealth of knowledge and experiences that this workshop series has to offer. Thank you for your commitment to this important mission. Let us work together to build a brighter future for all. Best wishes and a productive workshop.
We will now take a few endorsements from some of our principals.
My name is Wayne Robinson, and I'm the principal of Jamaica College. Jamaica College endorses the City and Guilds examinations and certification. We've been doing them for years. Our boys do, particularly we do mathematics and a number of other subject areas. We also do the on-demand subject areas throughout the year. And we think these exams are good options for our students to do. Again, we wish them all the best, and they have our support.
Good day. I'm Paul Hall, the principal of Tarrant High School. Today we want to talk about City and Guilds. Indeed, I consider it a very good exam in the sense that you have a wide cross section of students. Students who can do CSEC, students who can do CAPE, and of course you have students who matriculate to City and Guilds. Because the truth is that City and Guilds, the exam is one which I find that it caters to the needs of all the students. So the students who are able to do CSEC are able to do City and Guilds. And that is, for me, is a positive. And so no student, I say, no student should leave an institution without having, what do you say, the basic in terms of educational standard. And so the City and Guilds offer that kind of, I just want to say, settings for them to be able to matriculate. And the truth is that at the end of the day, they're able to matriculate to colleges, universities, if they reach a standard of level 3 in the City and Guilds, then they should be able to matriculate to universities. So indeed, it's at a wide appeal. And indeed, it's an overseas exam in the sense that it's English-based exam. And if you want to look at the grand scheme of things, England, for that matter, is a big country, if you want to look at it at that. So indeed, it is something that I think all schools should be involved with. One other thing here at Tarrant is that we have won last year, we came out on top of the schools, all the schools in Region 1, having City and Guilds. So we have topped the list in terms of that. And we wish to continue in that trend. We offer the City and Guilds in math, English, customer service, and the motorcycle assembly, and motor vehicle also repairs. One other thing I want to say is that I initiated the motorcycle repairs in all high schools in Jamaica. The truth is that it has not taken off the way I would like to see it. But I know in the future it will. And so City and Guilds was one of the first examination body to come on board with us with that. I actually started at Norman Manley High School. And City and Guilds was one of the first to come on board to offer examination in that. So it's my wish to see it grow so much that words can't explain. Because I consider it my baby, if you want to say that. And I hope other schools looking on will be able to take up the motorcycle assembly and repairs. Because guess what? Motorcycle is here to stay. So it's a matter of us expanding for the youngsters. These are ways and means of them to, so they like motorcycle one. But for us to teach the safety aspect of it, so as to save lives. And 3, to do the necessary repairs as regards to my motorcycles. And should be able to ride it, to drive it, to drive it in a sense where everybody is safe. I want to thank you all for listening to me.
And now we invite our main presenter, Mrs. Tamika Lodge Fenton, Regional Math Coordinator, as she looks into the syllabus for each stage of our exam and also how the content overlaps with the regional exam. She will also examine the Chief Examiner's report.
Welcome to another year with City and Guilds Math 3850. I am Tamika Lodge Fenton, Regional Coordinator within Region 1. Let us discuss some stuff about City and Guilds. Well, you know this already. City and Guilds is a step up the ladder of success. All right, so let us begin. City and Guilds, for over 140 years, have worked with people,
organizations, and economies to help them identify and develop the skills that they need to thrive in an ever-changing world. They understand the life-changing link between skill development, social mobility, prosperity, and success. Therefore, they have partnered with their customers to deliver work-based learning programs that build competency to support better prospects for people, organization, and the wider society. City and Guilds continues to create flexible learning pathways to support lifelong employability because they believe that people deserve the opportunity to train or retrain and learn and maybe even relearn again and again. City and Guilds continue to allow individuals to gain new skills at every stage of life, regardless of their starting point. So here we're going to look at the integrated curriculum that City and Guilds Mathematics offers. One, they have small, manageable units, activity-based syllabus, progress at learner's pace, and of course, City and Guilds offer a practical approach. It is there to build the confidence of those who engage with it, and of course, it is internationally certified. Now, let us look at some other things about City and Guilds. City and Guilds Mathematics is mapped to the National Mathematics Standards and the CSEC curriculum. City and Guilds provides a building block for learners who need to progress to CSEC and for those who will enter tertiary institution. So either you want to build upon your skills as you are getting ready to do your CSEC, or the path that you choose doesn't require extensive study in CSEC, so you will just use that to enter into a tertiary course. Now, the qualification structure of City and Guilds Math. You know that there are 3 stages. We have stage 1, 2, and 3. It is continuous progression of numbers and mathematical concepts. Application of numerical skills via practical example. So, when you engage with City and Guilds, you're becoming what? Numerate. Now, entry for the exam. The diagnostic testing should be done to determine the appropriate stage for the candidate. Nonetheless, the teacher does have the autonomy to select or recommend the student for whatever stage he or she sees fit. Candidates do not have to progress through all 3 stages. What does that mean? You can start at stage 3 if you so desire. However, you can go from stage 1 and then approach stage 2 and then eventually do stage 3. But there's no hard and fast rule where that is concerned because they each have their own freestanding certification. Now, stage 3, as I told you before, maps closest to the CSEC curriculum, with a few exceptions, of course. City and Guilds, stage 1, 2, and 3 cover the core of the CSEC exams. City and Guilds is aimed specifically to those students who plan to pursue their vocation studies immediately after leaving high school, and it provides a solid base on which to build further math knowledge. Now let us look at stage 1, some of the things that you should know about stage 1. For instance, there are 8 units that are offered at the stage 1 level. The number of assessment criteria are 62. That means there's 62 things that you can be assessed on. However, out of those 62, when you do the actual assessment, only 60 will be assessed. Then you have, so here we are, the 8 units. You have number, measurement and standard units, pictograms, tables, charts and graphs, shape and space, operations on whole numbers less than 10,000, operations on decimal fractions involving tenths, tenths and hundredths. Operational and common fractions involving halves and quarters. And then the last, which is 108, is appropriate strategies to use of the calculator. So although no calculator is allowed in the exam, it is important that each candidate, when they engage with City and Guilds, is aware of how to use a calculator. Because remember, you're being prepared for real life. So here you are, you have on screen, you'll see that the sample paper that you have, in order to obtain a pass, you have to get at least 27 correct out of those 60 items that's been assessed. A merit will be awarded to you if you have 35 to 42 correct on your paper. And anything above 43 correct will give you a distinction. Come on, people, we can do this. All right, now we're going to look at stage 2. How many units does stage 2 have? It has 13 units. And there are 44 criteria to be assessed. And as you can see, it's the same 60 items. So you will be given 60 multiple choice, similar to that of the same 60 in stage 1. Now, here are the topics. You can see clearly that there are some differentiation in the topics. Addition, of course, because you had 8 in stage 1 and now you have 13 in stage 2. So you have place value, measurement and standard units similar to that. And then you have operations with whole numbers, operations with decimal fractions, operations with common fractions, percentages, which you did not do in stage 1, is now in stage 2. Conversions between common fractions, decimal fractions, and percentages. So you see, you're now developing a little bit more skill as you move from the stage 1 to the stage 2. Orders of magnitude, ratio and proportions, average, elementary algebra, shape and space, and constructing, interpreting, and using tables of figures, graphs, and charts and maps. There you go. And now let's look at how you achieve a pass, a merit, or a distinction at the stage 2 level. So 25, at least 25 correct out of the 60 items, you will receive a pass. Now as you get more correct, if you hit 33 all the way up to 41, you can be awarded a merit. From 42 all the way to 60, of course, you can achieve a distinction at the stage 2 level. Now here we are, or stage 3, which is the one that maps closest to the CSEC curriculum. You have 12 units here, and you have 49 criteria for assessment, and all 3 exams consist of 60 items. So here at stage 3, you have 60 items to be tested on. And we can now look at the topics within the stage 3 curriculum. So you have 301 all the way to 312. Operations on integers, operations on decimal fractions, operations on common fractions, order of operations, and use of calculator. Percentages, you see it again, conversions between decimal fraction, common fraction, and percentages. So if you're paying attention, which I hope you are, you'll realize that there are some overlapping from your stage 1 to 2 and from your stage 2 and 1, which you'll also find in your stage 3. Because remember, each stage, although they are freestanding and you can be certified in any one, it is a build-up. It becomes more complex, more, I don't want to use the word intense, but you have more content to cover as you move from stage 1 to 3. Then after you have ratio and proportions, measurement and standard units, reading and interpreting tables of figures, dials and scales. There's a little difference there. I hope you're seeing that. Then you have elementary statistics, elementary algebra, and you have shape and space. Here you are now looking at how to attain a pass, a merit, or a distinction at the stage 3 level. So you have to get at least 27 correct on your stage 3 paper. So 27 out of 60 of those items will give you a pass. Now, when you reach 35 all the way up to 42, you can be awarded a merit for your math exam at stage 3. 43 all the way to 60 will give you a distinction in math stage 3. And remember, stage 3 is accepted in several universities here in Jamaica. So we want to look at how stage 3 maps to CSEC, which is our regional exam. So first, I would have gone through the learning objectives already, so we're not going to spend any time there. But let us look at how they map to the CSEC curriculum. Now, the first section in the CSEC is computation, and it has 10 objectives. And if you pay attention, the 10 objectives on your left is mapped. All 10 objectives are covered by stage 3 City and Guilds. You'll realize that there are a little differentiation with the stage 1 and 2, but we are focusing on the stage 3 and how it maps to the CSEC curriculum. Now we're at section 2. Section 2, which is number theory, also has 10 objectives. Now, all objectives are taught in stage City and Guilds, but there's a little variation. So for objective 4, which says derive an appropriate rule given the term of a sequence, you'll realize that for the City and Guilds, it is simplified. All right? And then you look at objective 8, that says state the value of a digit in a numeral in the base n, where n is less than or equal to 10. You'll realize that here in City and Guilds stage 3, n will only be in base 10. All right? So far we've looked at 2 sections in CSEC, and both sections are covered within the City and Guilds curriculum. We're at section 3. Section 3 talks to consumer arithmetic. And section 4 is also on this screen, which is sets. So there is no sets in stage 1, 2, or 3 of City and Guilds. It is found in the CSEC curriculum, but it is not in the City and Guilds. So consumer arithmetic, which would have 9 objectives listed here, and all 9, no, that's not true. 8 objectives out of the 9 are covered. 8 out of the 9 are covered. That's pretty good. Then you have section 5, which has to do with measurement. You have 13 objectives here being covered at the CSEC level, and all 13 objectives are being covered at the City and Guilds stage 3 level. However, for objectives 6 and 7, there's a little variation. You will only focus on prisms and cylinder. Those are the adjustment that is made. All right, so let us go to section 6. Section 6 speaks to statistics. And as you can see, there are 15 objectives being covered here by the CSEC curriculum. And out of the 15, you have 12 of them being covered by stage 3 City and Guilds. So in stage 3, you will not determine the measures of dispersion and on-group and group data of on-group and group data. You will not be doing construction of a cumulative frequency table for on-group and group data, and you will not draw a cumulative frequency curve. So those 3 objectives are not included in the City and Guilds stage 3. Then we move to section 7. Section 7 talks to algebra, and we have 18 objectives on the algebra in the CSEC curriculum. Now, when you look over by your right column, stage 3, you see 8 of those objectives are not being covered in the stage 3 City and Guilds. And if you pay attention, for instance, objective 4, which says perform the 4 basic operations with algebraic expression, it is simplified to just linear. And you'll see the same for objective 7 and 8, and simple for objective 9, and For objective 14, it is also linear, and objective 16, you'll see another variation where you only look at linear equations. So as you can see, the core of CSEC is being covered by your Stage 3 City and Guilds math exam. So let us look some more. You are now at section 8, 9, 10, and 11. So your CSEC curriculum has 11 sections. So we're almost finished tying this up. So relation functions and graphs, which is covered by CSEC, is not covered at any stage of City and Guilds. Then you have the basic geometry. So you have 7 objectives in the CSEC curriculum, and 6 of those objectives are covered by Stage 3 City and Guilds. So the objective that speaks to congruent triangles, similar figures, faces, edges, and vertices of solids is not covered at the Stage 3 or 1 or 2 City and Guilds. Then you have transformational geometry and trigonometry, along with vectors and matrices, which are covered by CSEC but are not covered by the City and Guilds Stage 1, 2, or 3. And there you have it, how CSEC, or let's just say it properly, how City and Guilds maps onto CSEC curriculum. So the important thing is when we do an exam, we need to learn from whatever we do. So whatever cohort of students sat an exam, there is a chief examiner's report that is useful for the candidates, and so it's really useful for the teachers to know how to treat the next cohort. And sometimes you have the cohort that is repeating, because sometimes students realize that they need a little bit more time to get these qualifications. So let us look at the commendations. Students worked well with whole numbers, but struggled with fractions. It is a repeated struggle. Students continue to struggle with the use of fractions in problem solving. So we need to try and work on this. We need to try and fix this. All right, what are some of the challenges? Struggled with some aspects of measurement, okay? Struggled with shape and space. We have to keep on getting this right, because it is not this year alone that we've seen this report or this challenge in the examiner's report. Shape and space, measurement seems to be topics, concepts that the students struggle with. So we need to see how we can remedy this problem, treat this problem as we engage them for the academic year 2024-2025. All right, so let us look at how the students perform at the Stage 1 level. So on screen you can see the number of candidates that would have sat the exam, 2,327 students, and we have only 7.39% receiving a distinction. We have to fix this. Merit, the students who received merit were 12.46%, and pass was 31.11%. Then we have a failing rate, which is alarming, 49.03%. We cannot have this. This is Stage 1. That means that the basic math concepts that students should be having when they're leaving secondary school, 49% of them are not achieving it. At the Stage 1 level, we have to fix this. All right? We have to prepare our students better so that they can build a confidence when they have at least one exit exam in mathematics. Let us work on it. So let us look a little bit more at the Stage 1 and some of the comments that were made on individual topics. For instance, number. Recognizing this, so this is one of the comments, recognizing decimal fractions and common fraction equivalent to halves and quarters was an area where weak performance was demonstrated overall. What does that mean? Students were unable to recognize decimal fractions and common fractions equivalent to halves and quarters. These are simplest fractions. These are like, what we call it, standard fractions. You should know that a half is 0.5, a quarter, 0.25. These are things that students ought to know from earlier in the school year, not school year, but term, in their secondary education. By grade 8, 9, students should know that a quarter can be represented as 0.25. So we need to fix this. It also spoke about some candidates just rearranged the figures given in the question. There was no thought to it. There was no problem solving. There was no reasoning being applied. They just rearranged. So those are things. So look at the questions that measure, that assess number. You have specimen papers out there, teachers. Students, for those who are watching, you have specimen paper at your leisure. Look at the questions that assess number and see how you understand or how you can recognize how to represent half, quarters as decimal fractions. You have measurement and standard units. Some candidates were able to measure the line correctly, choosing a suitable unit, but many candidates were unable to estimate weight and capacity or measure temperature. So although they got length down, they struggled with weight, temperature, and capacity. So we need to look at that. As educators, we need to make sure that we are practicing a reflective kind of education system, of teaching, of professionalism, where we look and see how we performed, linking it to how our students perform, and seek to do better come the next cohort of students. Candidates also appeared unfamiliar with the boiling point of water, expressed in degrees Fahrenheit. So maybe they know it in Celsius, but they were not engaged well with the Fahrenheit, or maybe they weren't paying attention. Whatever it is, we need to make sure we encourage them to pay attention not only to temperature in Celsius, but also in Fahrenheit. We talk about pictograms, tables, graphs, and charts. Most students performed well. However, a lower proportion were able to select what was needed to finish the line graph. So they could work with it, but they couldn't finish it off. So that's something that we need to look at as we engage them this year in the Stage 1 curriculum. Shape and space, which continues to be a struggle. We want to stop saying continue. We need to change that narrative. We need students to understand shape and space a little bit more so they can perform better. So I'm going to take that word out of my description. Many candidates found the perimeter instead of area of squares and rectangles, even when the squares were shown on the rectangle. So at this stage, students should not be mixing up, should not be confusing the concept of area and perimeter. So something needs to be done to ensure that a child understands the difference with perimeter and area. One is coverage, and one talks about the boundary of around the enclosed shape. So we need to fix that. Many candidates demonstrated a weak performance on symmetry, which with fewer than a quarter selecting the correct answer. Fewer than a quarter, so that's less than 25% of those students selecting. And symmetry, come on people, symmetry. So we need to look at how we're engaging them. Students, you can also go and read up on symmetry. You have so much knowledge at your fingertips. Go and watch the videos that we have online. Search up Tamika Lodge Fenton at City and Guilds lesson. You can search up City and Guilds math lesson. You can just go and look. It's there. There are several resources out there for you to use. It is not only your teacher's responsibility for you to learn. You have to be active learners, active participants in the learning process. So we are at 105, which talks about operation on whole numbers. Performance for addition of 3 numbers has decreased. 3 numbers, 3-digit numbers, and performance across the other 3 operations has shown a slight increase. So addition took a little fall. However, you have your division, multiplication, and subtraction that showed some increase. So well done. Operations on decimal fractions. Some candidates demonstrated a weak performance on this section, but the proportion of correct answers has improved across all 4 scales. Awesome job, teachers. Well done, students. Performance for division has shown a notable increase with around a third of the cohort choosing the correct answer. So there we go. We are doing well in some things, and that's awesome. Big up to you. All right, we have operations on common fractions. Less than a quarter of the candidates could add fractions or subtract fractions. Here we go again. We spoke about the fractions. It is a problem. We need to let students understand that fractions are numbers. They're numerical values that represent things that are what? Less than 1. They're numbers, and they need to understand these numbers, how to add, how to subtract with these numbers. How we do that? By making fractions practical, by making fractions as practical as possible. When we're teaching fractions, it should not just be the numbers. It should be with something that they use in their lives. What fraction of the class, of the students in your class are girls? What fraction of the students in your class are boys? What fraction have socks on today? I don't know, everyone should have on socks. So what you can use an experience that the students can relate to make the subject authentic, to make the concepts that they're learning real. Come on, man. When we were going to school, if the thing was memorable, we learned it. So you have to make it memorable for the students. Find things that they can relate to. Stop teaching. Stop teaching with this chalk and talk. We need to let them feel like, yes, math is fun. I can do this. Build their confidence by letting them be able to relate to the things that we teach them. And you'll be surprised how well they turn out. And then we have, did I do operations on common fractions? Let's see. Yes, I started it. Candidates often added across the numerators and then added across the denominators. So you realize right away that they are not understanding fractions in its true sense if they're adding the denominators, right? So we have to fix that. And they do the same thing for the subtraction. So they subtract the numerators and then they subtract the denominators. No, that's not how we do fractions, because the denominator tells us if we are adding or subtracting from the same whole. As in, if you have, let's talk practical now. So if you have quarters, so you have 2 pizza, you cut 1 pizza into 4 parts. You have quarters. So if you get 1 piece, you have 1/4 of the pizza. If you get 2 pieces, you get half a pizza. Good. What if you had the same size pizza and cut it into fifths? All right? 5 seems like it's too far. All right, let's use another number. If I cut it into 6. 6, you like even numbers? Okay. If I gave you 1 slice of that pizza, could I say you got 1/4 of the pizza? No, you did not. You got 1/6 of the pizza because you got 1 out of 6 parts. Can I now add 1/4 plus 1/6? Think it in your mind, think it, You have 1 pizza cut in 6. The pizza cut in 4, the slices are big slice. Pizza cut in 6, they're smaller slices. We cannot add them and say it's 2 slices. No, we have to figure out how to bring them both to a fractional representation, a whole that they both are the same size. That's a little bit much, so not for the stage 1, but we're now in stage 3 content. So just remember, whatever you're doing, you can find ways to make the content real to the students. That's what I'm saying. So although that may be a little bit above the stage 1 level, use the content within the stage 1 to make it real for them. All right? Great. Appropriate strategies and mathematical terms. So this is a very important one. When we engage in the math class, there is a language that we want the students to learn to use. And the only way they're going to learn is if we educators use the language. So for instance, back to the fraction thing. It is not the top number or the bottom number. We have denominator and we have numerator, right? The numbers, the digit up top and the digit at the bottom, or let me not go there. The digit that represents the numerator and the digit that represents the denominator makes the fraction. They both make the fraction. All right? So the language needs to be precise to help our students to understand what they're reading. For instance, you have 0.8. What is that? That's really 8 tenths. Tenths. TH, you know, it's a struggle for us all. So if you call the numbers correctly, the students will understand it. So when you say 8 tenths, a child can see that that's 8 as the numerator and tenths, 10 as the denominator. So they can make the transition from a decimal fraction to a fractional representation, because we would have been using the terms that help them to understand how you call a number. All right. A similar proportion was unable. So we said that there, did I say what it was? Under half of the candidates could recognize a suitable equation or suitable check. A similar proportion was unable to show an understanding of mathematical terms in everyday conversion. Everyday conversions, you know, so that means we probably are not being engaged with everyday scenarios as we ought to. We can fix this. This is an easy fix. Make the math authentic. Wherever the opportunity lends itself for you to use things in the student's everyday life, use it. Apply it. Let them come up with things that relates to the concept that you're teaching them. And that was stage 1. So we are going to look at the overview of the examiner's report for stage 2, 2024. All right. So we are now looking at the number of students that sat stage 2 City and Guilds Mathematics. It's a large amount and we are grateful for that. 10,074 students sat at the stage 2 level. However, we're a little bit saddened by how many persons would have gotten a distinction at this stage. And that would have been 6.62%. Only 6.62%. We can fix this. Then you have those who receive merit. 14.69% of those students who sat the exam received merit. So you see what I'm doing here though? I haven't given you any numbers because I expect you to go out and use your knowledge that you would have garnered and calculate how many students would have gotten distinction, how many would have received merit, and how many would have received pass. And of course, the whopping 47.96% who would have failed their exam at the stage 2 level. Our aim as educators is to equip our students with skills to enter life and be good citizens. So this doesn't look good to us. We're not happy when a lot of our students are not coming out successful in the exams. We want to see more students. So students, we want to see more of you doing well. So all of you who are sitting City and Guilds this year, you need to make this number go up by studying, by using the resources that are available for you. Once again, I say, go on YouTube, look up the videos, have study groups with your friends. If there is someone in your class, in your set of students that understand math well, link up with them. Let them teach you. Help yourself to do better. And teachers, of course, you know that, like it or not, your students come to your class because of you. And if they like you, and if they like how you engage them, you will be surprised how well they do in your subject. So start there. You know, let them realize that you believe in them and they can do it. And let us see if we can get these percentages higher for distinction, merit, pass as well. But you know, I want distinction and merits from you guys. All right, so we are now looking at the commendations from the examiner. Or the examiner's report. Most candidates attempted all questions, so I commend you all. Very good for those who sat stage 2 in 2024. Most of you tried to complete the paper, and that is good because, you could just choose the right answer. Challenges that was identified. The students lost marks on some aspect of percentages and operations on common fractions. Here we are again, people. Common fractions. So we need to do some intervention teaching this year on fractions at all levels, because you'll see it in stage 3 when I get there. Average and shape, along with space, cause the most problems together with measurement and standard units. As in the previous year, some candidates demonstrated low performance on items which involves interpretation of tables, graphs, charts, and maps. All right, so they're not required to construct any graph, table, charts, or map at this stage. But they should be able to take information from it. So if they can't take information from it, we're not engaging them well. We're not. So we need to fix that. When these students engage with these content, they need to talk to you. It should be a vibrant class. It should be a whole heap of discussion. It doesn't even have to be questions that come with that particular graph. Give them some more things, man. Let them search the graph for stuff. Let them tell you what's happening in the graph. Let them look for patterns in the graph. You can go a little bit above what is required, because you want them to realize that, information is so important. And when they look at information, not only in class, but when they look at a graph that comes up on the news, when they look at a graph in the newspaper, they should be able to understand what it is saying to them. They should be able to garner information from these representations and use it, apply it to their lives. So we need to work on that. Average was also an issue. So we need to see how best we can engage the students to fully understand what average means. I know at times we use average loosely, right? The averages that exist, the averages we have, mode, median, what is the next one again? Mode, median, and the mean. Oh my, look at that, missed me for a minute. So we have mode, median, and mean, and those are the averages that the students work with. So we need to help them to differentiate among those three and know when to use and when to apply. All right, so here we're looking at the stage 2, and we're starting at 204, so I would not have started at 201 because, similar things that we see in the stage 1. Now, operations on decimal fractions. Many candidates performed less well on this section than when working with whole numbers. So they're okay with working with whole numbers. But when we touch fractions again, they're struggling. So what are we doing as educators? Students, what are you doing with your fraction content? Are you going over the content that the teacher would have engaged you with? Are you looking beyond what is taught in class and trying to learn a little extra on the side? It's not the teacher alone, If you know you struggle with fractions, go do something, man. Go read one book. Go look for a video. Figure it out. But you need to learn fractions because you're going to be assessed on it. Division and multiplication cause more problems than addition and subtraction. So again, these are basic operations. Students, we need to do better. Just under half of the candidates chose the correct answer for questions set in context with both multiplication and addition. So you have to think of what you plan to do. Do you plan to do well? If you plan to do well, you have to put in the work. So although you're engaged with the content in class, it may not be enough because guess what happened? We all learn differently. You may need 10 minutes and I may need an hour. So you know yourself. If when the teacher teaches your concept in class and you did not grasp it as well, go home. Take your lunch time if you eat lunch and you have some time. Go and look back over the content. Speak to someone else in your class who you think would have gotten the content well. Let them explain a little bit more. If the teacher has the time, go back to your teacher and ask for additional help. But you have to figure it out because, as I said earlier, the aim is for you to do well. That's what we want for our students in all our schools across Jamaica, to do the exam and do well. All right. Operations on common fractions. Under half of the cohort were able to recognize equivalences. You know what that is. So for instance, a half. If I have a half of something, I would have cut it in two parts, and I have 1 out of the 2 parts. Now if I have another whole and I cut it in 8 parts, how much is half? Come on, man. You know what half of 8 is 4. So 4/8 is the same as a half. And I can simplify 4/8. And I can give you what? 4 into 4 goes 1 time, and 4 into 8 goes 2 times. See? It is equivalencies. So those are the things there was some struggle with that. The most common incorrect answer for addition and subtraction were to add across the numerators and then add across the denominators. So this was seen in stage 1 and it repeated itself in the stage 2 students. So we need to see how we can help the students to not make that error again, or minimize the error that is made. Percentages. There was a weak performance in some aspect of this section. Less than a third could find 5% or 75%. It's not funny. It's not funny. Less than a third could find 5% or 75% of an amount. Come on, man. We need to fix this. 5, you can divide by 5. 5 is an easy number to divide by. We can do this. So we have to work on that. Then we move to 207. Conversion between common fractions, decimal fractions, and percentages. Now, if we're struggling with operation with the decimal fraction and common fraction, when we reach conversion, we're going to continue to struggle. So we have to figure out a way to fix the earlier concepts so that as the child progresses to more, what's the term? To more harder concepts. I was trying to find another word, but I couldn't. To harder concepts, that he or she would have garnered the foundation to do the other concepts. So low performance was demonstrated in questions that involve candidates finding the highest value from a list of common fractions, decimal fractions, and percentages. So what does that look like? So I give you a third, I give you 75%, and then I give you 0.6 or 0.4, and you're asked to tell me which is the highest or which is the lowest value within that. All right? So first thing, you'll have to figure out how to convert any of them to the same. So if you have 75%, can you convert a third to percentage? And can you convert 0.6 to percentage? Or can you convert the percentage to a decimal fraction? So if you can't do that, you can't make a true comparison. So those are things that you need to look at. All right, and work better for next year. Many candidates did not appear to recognize the equivalence of 0.1 in this scenario. All right, so 0.1 is 1/10. 1/10. 1 as a numerator, 10 as a denominator. All right. So here we are now. Orders of magnitude. There was a weak performance demonstrated on rounding an amount with 2 decimal places to the nearest dollar. Now we use money every day, people. To the nearest dollar. So now we have a system here in Jamaica. We don't use 1 cent, 5 cents. What is our smallest cent we have? What is the smallest coin we have? $1. We don't have no cents. So you're all out there shopping and rounding every day and not even realizing. So when you go to the supermarket and you cash something and it comes to $18.75. Anybody have 75 cents can take from you? No. They round it up. And you're going to pay the next dollar. You're going to pay $19. They don't have no change to give you. If your bill was $20.20, they just take you $20. No, I don't know what you're buying for these monies doing because we don't go nowhere and buy nothing for no $20. But you get it. You are rounding off. When you look at your receipts, you're living, and you're living so passively that you're not even realizing that what you're learning in school is what you're doing in life. So when you go to the supermarket, there's no cents to give. So the cashier would normally round up or down depending on the cent value that you have. 50 cents or more, they win. Less than 50 cents, you win. That's how it works. So these are things that you can have conversation with as you engage with students. So you have ratio and proportion. Around half of the candidates perform well on 2 of the questions in this section. However, just over a third of the candidates chose the correct answer for the length of the wall on the plan. Yes, you will be looking at plans. And remember, we are equipping you to go out there and to enter the world. If you're going to be an architect, if you're going to be a draftsman, if you're going to be if you're going to paint, if you're going to be a mason, you might have to look at a plan. And you might have to convert from the measurement on the plan to the measurement in real life. So this is something that you need to work on. All right? Average and range. It eludes me every year why range is such a struggle for us, though. Range is really your highest value in a set and your lowest value. You need to fix this, students. Look up what range is. Look it up, man. Most candidates were able to select the correct answer for the average mean. Average mean, remember I said there are three of them. Mean, mode, and median. I struggled a bit, but I eventually got it. The most popular answer for these questions was the mode. But only the average mean is tested at this level. So you're identifying the mode, but you're not being tested on the mode. So that tells us that you're not sure how to differentiate among the three. All right. The proportion of candidates successful in choosing the correct answer for range was low. Your range is the difference between the highest value in the data set and the lowest value. It is quite easy. You need to fix this. Students, you need to fix this. Range is something that you can do. You can calculate this if you understand what range is. All right. Elementary algebra. You have the question requiring students to substitute values into a formula was answered correctly. Well done. Kudos to you. By just under half of the candidates, but less than this could find the missing values. So you could substitute, but you're not finishing it up. You're not finding the missing value. So those are the things that you probably need to work on. So algebra needs some attention. Now we are at stage 3, which I have said to you and I will continue to say. It maps closest to the regional exam or CSEC exam. And here we have 11,000 students, 11,039 students sitting the stage 3 City and Guilds math exam. And 11.61%, so roughly 12%. You see what I've done there? I've rounded up because 0.61 is greater than 0.5. So I can say about approximately 12% of that 11,039 students received distinction. What about the 20.57? What would that be? Yeah, man, you're right, man. About 21% received a merit. And for the passes, what would we do there? That's 34.14. Yes, you're correct. About 34% of the students received a pass. And we're grateful that it is just 33, but we still want to minimize that. We want to decrease that number and let the distinction and merit and pass increase. So we have a 33.67, which is roughly 34% of the students who were not successful in achieving certification at the stage 3 level. We did state that the stage 3 level is acceptable at several universities in Jamaica, so you can use this to pursue a tertiary level education. And of course, it is acceptable at UWI and UTEC and Teachers College JCF and JDF. So you can do stage 3. We do recommend that when you're leaving, you do sit the stage 3 exam because it is the only one of the stage that can be used to go into tertiary study of courses of study. However, you know that one size does not fit all, and some of you are already on your way to success because you know what you're doing and it's working for you. And you're innovators, you're digital natives. That means you have used the digital world to make money. And if that is it, you do need to check your money. And stage 1 or 2 may be just what you need to be numerate and be able to function within the world. But you're not doing an extensive math, and you don't need to do anything further because you're already on your path. So you can do stage 1 or 2. And also for those who are already out there making money, but you feel like you want, some self-actualization, you want to achieve a pass in some math subject, you can go and do stage 3. If you want, try stage 2 first, and then see how you do, and then go into stage 3. So you remember, City and Guilds does have 3 stages that you can take at any point in your life. Remember, we promote relearning, retraining again and again. All right, so we're at stage 3, overview of the examiner's report for 2024 exam. And we want to look at the commendations at this time. Candidates appeared relatively confident when working with integers, percentages, and decimals. Awesome. Well done, teachers. Good job, students. You appear confident. I mean, you're doing some work out there, man. Challenges, however. Candidates experience problems working with my favorite topic, fractions again. So at stage 1, 2, and 3, fractions need. So I'm going to have to do a workshop on fractions because fractions seem to continue. I said I was going to stop using continue, don't it? Fraction needs some attention. Let's speak it in a positive way. We need to put a little bit more attention. We need to be a little bit more deliberate on how we engage the students with fractions in order for them to fully grasp the concepts and apply it when that time comes for them to be assessed. The section on ratio and proportion was more challenging at this level. And range again, range continued to cause problems. We have to fix this. Both measurement and standard units and some aspect of shape and space cause problems as well at the stage 3 level. So let us take a little final look at the individual topics as the comments were made. So operations on integers. Candidates generally performed well in this section. However, under a third of the candidates could find the difference in temperatures when one involved a negative number. And a similar number had problems writing a number as a binary number. Binary number, who knows what binary numbers are? What? You have base. What bases are binary numbers? Yeah, man, Base 2, man, yes, So there were some issues with that, and the students had a problem with negative numbers. So although they can work with integers, when it comes to temperature with negative and positive number, there was a little issue. But in situations like this, draw it up on the board, man. Don't just give them and let them use a thermometer. Let them look. You're at negative 20 degrees. What's the difference between negative 20 and 0 degrees? Yeah, but you have to pass 0 to go down to negative. So you pass 0 and you go down all the way to 20. How much moves did you make? 20. Good. So if you're now at 10 degrees, and what's the difference between 10 and negative 20? So you're at 10, which is, still cold, but it's above 0. So from 10 to 0 would have been 10 moves, 10 degrees. And then from 0 to 20 is 20 degrees. So 10 plus the 20 gives us 30. All right, we'll talk some more about that later in the year. All right, then you talk about operations on decimal fractions. Candidates generally perform well on this section when questions involve addition and subtraction. Did I read that right? Yes. However, only half could multiply 0.3 and fewer could multiply by 0.7. We need to look at these because 0.3, that's not a very large, hard number, right? But we'll work on it. Operations on common fractions. Candidates demonstrated low performance on some parts of this section, particularly subtraction involving boring, what we call renaming, and division. All right? So we are seeing that there is a problem with realizing that you are in the you're subtracting a digit in your ones column, and the one that you're subtracting from is smaller than the one that you're subtracting. There are some correct names for that, but let's not go into that. You have to know, regroup your tens and make them ones. And there's a problem with that. Students are having a problem with regrouping of a different, place in the number, right? So we need to try and work that out. When I don't have a board in front of me, sometimes I'm very visual, so I'm not going to go too much into it because I need to see what I'm saying. But other workshops will cover that. Ratio and proportion. Candidates did not perform well in some aspect of this section. Less than a third could work out the actual distance using the scale from a map or express a ratio in its lowest form. Now this is sad enough because you're using Atlas from primary schools. You're using Atlas from primary school where you look at the Jamaica map and you say how far St. Thomas is from Spanish Town. When you're doing all, heroes. When you talk about Paul Bogle moving from Stony Gut to Spanish Town to talk to John Edward Eyre, he had to travel, he walked. And I'm sure that was some discussion in some social study or you don't do geography in the primary school. Social study class. So you would have been using maps and looking at the scale on the map and making some amount of calculation long time. Stop dropping the knowledge you learned from primary school and think that when you come to high school, it's new knowledge. It's not. We're building on what you learned at the primary level, and we're making you more efficient by letting you see how more you can apply to that you had. So come on, people. You should be able to use the scale and do some measurement there. All right, so we are here now reading and interpreting tables and figures, data and scales. Candidates performed well in this section. Over 3/4 of the candidates were able to give the correct responses when extracting information from tables. Awesome job. I am so proud of you. That's good. So you can see the table and you can take information from it. That's excellent. A similar proportion could extract information from a temperature gauge. You're doing some work out there, man. Very good. Keep it up, and we want to see more students being able to read and interpret tables, figures, and data, as well as scales. We are now at 310. Elementary statistics. Less than a third of the candidates were able to answer the question on range. Can you believe it? Range again? Range? All right, we're not even going to stay there. And just over a third answered the question on average mean correctly. All right, so we have to work on this. Statistics is something that we use in our everyday life. When you look at data in the news, when you talk about our worst topic, crime and violence, it's statistics. They collect data and they can look at patterns and they can see what's happening. When you look at pregnancy within our country, when you look at school students leaving school, how many are leaving with subjects, how many are entering to tertiary institution. These are all statistics, okay? So even if you're not going to study math, statistics is important for you to understand the world around you, okay? You need to know, for instance, if you own your own business, it is important. Have you ever gone to a restaurant? And let me not use a restaurant. School. Have you ever realized that some days at school, somebody going to do without lunch? They're not following the statistics, man. They're not paying attention. Because week in, week out, they need 500 food. And they might make 300. Somebody ever hungry. So those are statistics, skills at work. As a business owner, as a restaurant owner, as a little cook shop pan the corner, you must know, say Monday, everybody come out. No, they not come out. They have Sunday dinner. They not buy nothing Monday. So you cook less pan a Monday. But you see, by Wednesday, that Monday there, that Sunday dinner, they're done. So you know, say, you're going to need more food by Wednesday. And you know, Jamaican people, they don't really cook much on a Friday. So Friday is also a good day to cook a lot of food because it's going to be sold. Just make sure your food tastes good and you'll be surprised. That's statistics at work. So everybody, if you make this, if you see the usefulness of these concepts, if you make the students see the usefulness, they will learn. they will learn. That's making the subject authentic. Then you have elementary algebra. Over half of the cohort was able to answer the questions on equations, and slightly less were able to use a formula. So that's good. We're getting better where algebra is concerned, and we can definitely work on it, because over half, we want, we want a little bit more than the half, over half. We want 80%, 90%, 100% of the students who want to read. 100% of the cohort were able to answer the questions on equations, and just slightly less than the 100% were able to use the formula. That's a good report. I think that's a good comment. We can work for that. And then you have the last unit in Stage 3 City and Guilds, shape and space. Many candidates could not calculate the area of a shape or the volume. We need to fix that. Area or volume, many of them, they remove the percentage. So we need to look at that area. We need to look at those areas. Over half of the candidates were not able to use Pythagoras' theorem to find a missing length. Candidates did not understand the idea of similarity and the effect of doubling the length of the sides of a cube, with many candidates thinking that this doubles the surface area. So these are things that the teacher, what I want you to, why was this necessary? You are supposed to want to read the examiner's report as an educator of City and Guilds. Why? It gives information to you to tell you how the group, the entire group, performed last sitting. And if it gives you the report of how they performed last sitting, you are now able to adjust how you teach, how you engage, how you facilitate learning, and try and remedy some of the issues that the examiner's report would have pointed out. All right? So each teacher, each facilitator of City and Guilds, whether it be stage 1, 2, or 3, you should try to get a copy of the examiner's report and read through it and look at the stage that you're engaging the students with and trying to do better for the next cohort of students. So we just looked at how the examiner spoke about the things that we need to look at as it pertains to stage 3 mathematics. Now, let us look at what we need to focus on. So the diagnostic and formative assessments will identify areas that need further teaching and learning for individual candidates. All right, now diagnostic papers are supplied to the schools by the rep office in September, and those diagnostic papers, those diagnostic results, it's important that you use this wisely. Use the diagnostic data to help understand, as the term says, diagnose how to treat the students. Now, the diagnostic test helps you to see where exactly to place the students, whether it be in the stage 1, stage 2, or 3 group. However, you being the teacher can definitely see the aptitude of individual students and decide, although the test says one thing, you still have the autonomy to make the recommendation that the student do another stage. So just to note that. Your formative assessment, which is assessment as you are teaching throughout the year, also will help you to make adjustment to your instruction, and you should pay attention to how the students are progressing as you engage them. What else to focus on? Ensure candidates understand fractions. It is important that we as educators pay attention to the topic, to the concept that is continuous in all 3 stages that shows that the students are not performing very well. Fractions is one of those topics that we need to work with our students a little bit more with. Ensure that when you engage them with fractions, it's very practical, it's very authentic, and they can relate to fraction in their everyday experience. Studies have shown that when students engage with content in a meaningful way, the learning is more lasting. So you want to build that concept by engaging them in meaningful ways. So those are your general focus for all 3 stages. Now let us look at what to focus on in stage 1. Candidates should be aware of different terms for the 4 operations. You have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Let them know that although these are maybe what you call the standard words, there are other terms that can be used to denote any of these, to addition. For instance, sum, total for addition, subtraction, difference. And then you have your multiplication, they may also know times, and your division, sharing. So you want to let them know these words as you engage them. So if they see another word somewhere, they can apply the concept. For stage 1, candidates should also understand simple fractions and their equivalences, and how to add and subtract simple fractions. Remember, one of the things that was seen in the examiner's report is that they were adding not just the numerator, but they were also adding across the denominator. So as educators, let us see how we can reinforce that the denominators are not added or subtracted as they engage with these fraction problems. For fractions, and this is key, do not overextend yourself or the students, because at this level they only should be engaging with quarters, halves, and thirds. And if we stick to the curriculum and the syllabus as is, it is easier for them to grasp the concept that is required to do well and to understand those standard fractions that they'll engage with in life. Then we can now look at what to focus on for stage 2. Candidates should be aware of the different terms for average. We did mention them: mode, mean, and median. At this level, candidates do not need to do the mode. They need to be able to calculate the average mean. But we are still seeing that they are choosing the mode for their response. So let us just focus on calculating the average and the mean if you see the need to help them differentiate what each of these averages stand for it to be more applicable as they engage with the question that requires them to calculate the average mean. Go ahead, please do so. Candidates should know that perimeter is a distance around the boundary of the enclosed shape, and it is a linear measurement. Okay? They should know that the area, on the other hand, is the space covered by the shape, and that it is a squared unit. The most common response that we have for students engaging with the area question is to give you the perimeter. So we need to work on that, teachers. We need to make sure that students are fully aware of the difference with perimeter and area and the quantity of measure for both or for either. What to focus on for stage 3? Candidates should be aware of the different terms of average. Now we're talking about all 3: mean, median, and mode. At this level, they need to be able to calculate all 3. All right? So remember, at stage 3, the students, the candidates, your learners need to be able to calculate all 3 averages: mode, mean, and median. Good. However, it would appear as if they still focus mainly on the mode, and we need to help them make the distinction. It is still popular that they are making some amount of error where the range is concerned. So please, we need to look at what range is, how to calculate the range, and what the range tells us. Another thing that we can do to ensure that the students use these averages wisely is to let them see how or where in real life the mode, the median, and the mean would be used, and also the range. Candidates should know that perimeter is a distance, we've said this, distance around the boundary of a shape. And similar to what was said in stage 2, it is the same issue that we're seeing in stage 3. They are not making a good, clear distinction of when the area concept is required or the skill is needed to find the area versus the perimeter. They are calculating the perimeter for the area, and the area, I don't think they're calculating the area at all. So those are things we need to make sure that they understand how to calculate perimeter different from area. Okay, so another thing is when they look at the perimeter, it cannot be that they're just adding up the numbers slavishly. They need to pay attention that all the numbers, all the lengths of the shape may not be present on the shape given. Therefore, they have to now use initiative, common sense, to realize that if you have 3 on the left side of the shape and there's no value for the length on the right side, and the measure, the length, the distance from the top, or we're looking at flat shapes and let's not say top. If the length is the same on the right and on the left of the shape, that they are the same length. And although 3 is not written beside the line, the length on the right, they should include it as they calculate the perimeter. All right? And similarly, they may also need to take in account of the lengths, even though they are not all listed for finding the area of such a shape. So here we are at types of assessment. We did touch on it, but let us be a little bit more deliberate on how we use assessment to inform instruction and to treat issues that may come out of assessment. So there are 3 types of assessment that we have here: our diagnostic, our formative, and our summative. So our diagnostic test is usually the beginning of the school year, which we use it to, 1, to place the students in the correct stage, or the stage that you, the teacher, think this child would be best suited. And not only best suited that we want to use, that's not the only thing we want to use. We want to also have a conversation with the students. What does their career path look like? And this conversation should really be had from grade 9. When you see a child go in a particular direction, you are supposed to give some guidance and help them make good choices to go where they need to. So the diagnostic test that can be done at the grade 10, and you see where they're going, you place them accordingly. If you know that they are going to go to university and they need to do math, it is recommended that they do stage 3, because stage 3 is the only stage that is accepted because it maps closest to the CSEC curriculum. However, you see fit, you can do otherwise. Your formative assessment is those in-house tests, those internal assessment that you will do throughout the course of the year. Some schools call them 6 weekly tests. You may have unit tests. So when they complete a unit, you assess them, and then you use that to see if you should revisit some topics or you are clear, you are good to move on to the next unit. Then, of course, your summative assessment is what is given at the end of the school year when they've completed their curriculum. Some students may sit the exam at the end of grade 10, depending on the latitude the school gives or the aptitude of the student. And some students may sit the exam at the end of grade 11. So your summative is that 60-item multiple choice that City and Guilds will provide, and you will be awarded either pass, merit, or distinction. So that's the type of assessment, and you should use it well. All right, so we spoke about the diagnostic assessment, and we spoke about that you only have multiple choice and you have short answers that assess the learner's current knowledge and is based on the views that the students have. So basically, you're kind of seeing what the child is coming with. All right? And then we use this information definitely to instruct. And this assessment, as I said to you, comes from the rep office. The formative assessment. What is the purpose of the formative assessment? To monitor student learning, provide ongoing feedback that can be used by instructors to provide their teaching and by students to improve their learning. So both teachers and students can use formative assessment to benefit them. It also identifies their strengths and weaknesses and target areas that need to work on. And the formative assessment, as I said earlier, is mainly prepared by the instructors, by the teachers. So you who are on the ground. And then your summative assessment, what is the main objective of it? To evaluate students' learning at the end of the instructional units by comparing it against some standard or benchmark. Summative, hence why when you looked at the previous slides and we talk about for a particular stage, if you get 27 correct up to about 34, you will be placed in the pass band, and about 35 to 42, you'll be placed in the merit band. That is the benchmark that we're talking about. Okay? Your summative assessment are often high stakes. Yes, you're awarded and you can use this award to move on in life, which means they have a high point value. So why is this important? As educators, it should be your dream, it should be your deliberate effort to ensure that your students do well on the summative exam. Yes, we want them to do well on the formatives as well. Diagnostic, it's pretty much for you to get a to get an idea of where they are. But your summative exam, you want your students to perform well. You want them to be ready for their summative exam so that they can now see the knowledge, the skill set they would have garnered during the course of study. All right, so, and this is this is a form of exit exam that is done in June of the year that the students are in, academic year of the students. So, what does City and Guilds talk about? They talk about a balanced approach. And what does that look like? It means you're planning your lessons for your students according to the syllabus that you have. And you're executing those lessons effectively and efficiently. And you're assessing to see if you and the students are progressing as you intended. Okay? So that is what the balanced approach looks like. Now, feedback and reflection. As practitioners out there, engaging students in City and Guilds math. Encourage mathematical thinking in your classes. Encourage the students to not just do the item as a question on a paper, but to see how it can be applied, how the concept is relevant to their life, and how they can use it to apply to something that they're doing or someone is doing. Participation. No class at all should be just the teacher talking like how I am talking to you. You should make sure that your students are engaged. Your students are participating as you facilitate the learning of mathematics. And you should look for growth. It should be something that you're looking for. The students come to you a particular way. When they engage with you for a time, you should hear the language change, how they do the items, how they process the information. All those things should be seen. So you're looking for growth as you engage your students. Now, there are lots of things that City and Guilds have out there to support you as you engage the students in City and Guilds mathematics. You have the syllabuses across all 3 stages. So the booklet, you have a hard copy and a soft copy that you can use for your students. There are Smart Screen, which provides access to lesson plans, videos, and activities for student engagement. Feel free to reach out to the rep office. Mapping document, so we did that today. We showed you how the content in all 3 stages are mapped onto the regional exam CSEC, and you can always take that and look at it for your own, in your own time at a little slower pace to get a better understanding of how the exams are structured. Then you have practice exam for all students in March each year. Textbooks are available via the Ministry of Education Media Department. You can reach out to them to get textbooks for your students and for your teachers. Then, of course, you have specimen papers, 11 sets across these 3 stages. So there are more than enough resources to equip you, to prepare you to do well, for you to better able engage your students. Use the resources, use the support that's there, and get the students where they need to get in order to let the passes be better and equip our students as numerate members of our society. All right, so that being said, any questions at this time? We will try to answer as best as possible. Some of the things that we want to ask are some of the things that you may think of. How are you engaging your students? Are the lessons activity rich? What are the struggles that you have in the classroom? How can we better equip you to do well? What are the high points of engaging with City and Guilds with your students? Thank you so very much for participating today in our workshop. And I hope many things would have helped you to better be able to engage the students here in Jamaica as they do City and Guilds Mathematics 3850.
Hello, good day. I am Mrs. Parnell and welcome to Math Matters, where mistakes allow thinking to happen. With us, I have Ricardo Bengo and he'll be answering some questions from me. Now, Ricardo, first question. What are some of the topics that you found most challenging in City and Guilds, and how did you happen to come over these challenges?
Alright, so the topic that I found most challenging was probably statistics and probabilities. Because, in our class, you start changing and ask him, what is the square root of a banana chips? You just have to ask him much from a banana chips, right? But how I managed to overcome that challenge is to normally what my teacher to always tell me is that to always seek help from them and tell them what to understand, so they can always go over about the topic so you can understand it more clearly.
All right, awesome. Second question. How does the course content relate to your career goals? And are there any areas that you wish were covered more?
Alright, so first of all, I want to become an engineer in the future, and the course topic that would most likely impact my career path is matrices and vectors.
And why is that?
Because engineers, they mostly use those when in everyday life, because they have to do the probabilities, they have to find the areas and all those things.
Okay, and finally, what do you enjoy the most about the course offerings of math?
Well, me personally is that City and Guilds will always be more fun than CXC, because the teacher is more interactive with City and Guilds. I'm not saying that people don't like CXC, I'm just saying that City and Guilds, I'm more comfortable with City and Guilds than CXC.
Is it because of its practicality? What about it entices you the most?
Well, it's a practicality and also how the teachers engage with us.
All right, and there we have it. Thank you so much, Recorder, for your answers. And now we have with us Lorianne Williams. Lorianne, what topic in City and Guilds did you find the hardest, and how do you plan to overcome this challenge?
So the topic that I found the hardest is measurement. Measurement is a broad aspect, and it can come in wide varieties like convergence and shapes and geometry. So for me, for example, for conversion, I use kick him down, Mr. Don't Commit Murder. So it's the acronym I use to help me remember the conversion when to multiply and divide. And that's it.
All right, so she used a lot of mnemonics to help her with her conversion to overcome her challenges. That's excellent, Lorianne. Our second question is, how does the course content relate to your career goal? And are there any areas you wish were covered more?
As a future medical doctor, I must know the fundamental of mathematics and the foundation. And this can help me to do higher math at a more easier level.
So it helps you with your future goals as it lays the foundation for tertiary institution.
Yes, okay.
All right, awesome. And the final question is, what do you enjoy most about the math course?
What I enjoy most is that math has a variety of steps. It can be followed and it's predictable. It can practice until it's perfect.
All right, awesome. So the practicality of math is that the formulas are there and the steps are to follow, and that's what you enjoy the most. Thank you so much, Lorianne, for your answers.
Thank you.
And finally, we have with us Danica Anthony. Now, Danica, which topic in the City and Guilds math course did you find to be the hardest, and how do you work through these challenges?
So the topic that I found the hardest was algebra. And how I work through that is by going on YouTube, create some friend groups that can help me and know more about algebra. The challenges that I had was the signs can be tricky. Also, when you're doing algebra, you have to transpose, and when you transpose, the sign changes. So yeah, the signs can be very tricky in algebra.
So there we have it. Some ways to get over our issues is by creating YouTube videos or watching YouTube, and also creating friends group. Thank you so much. The second question is, how does the course content relate to your career goals, and are there any areas you wish were covered more?
It can help by giving correct measurements. Like for instance, I'm doing pediatrician, like I can't go and give the children overdose. So I have to know what amount of dosage I can give them.
Right, because City and Guilds, as I stated, is very practical, and so it helps them with the practical application of math. Example with your career path, how to check the temperature using the back of your hand and so forth, right?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. And finally, what do you enjoy most about the math course that is offered?
So, who likes math? Nobody. But I enjoyed how the teachers work with us, and math, you just have to follow the steps, and once you follow the steps, you can't go wrong.
And two, with City and Guilds, it also assists our students to make it into the sixth form program as long as they have stage 2 or stage 3. Thank you so much for joining us on Math Matters.
Welcome back. We have a special segment planned for you, Math Matters. A special guest will join Ms. Fenton as they discuss and share with you some tips on how to deliver the content to your students.
Welcome to Math Matters. With me today we have Dominic Parnell from Tarrant High School, and we have Camille Simpson from Pembroke Hall High School, whom we'll be discussing what matters in math. All right, so welcome everyone.
Thank you for having us.
So today we want to look at some of the issues, some of the things that we have seen in the Chief Examiner's report. So I have a few questions for you, and let's see how best you can help other teachers get through some of the things. So what is your fondest concept teaching in the City and Guilds curriculum?
My fondest concept teaching is elementary algebra. And it's the realistic way that I present it to my students. You know that one student see X, they believe that, okay, X is 1.
Okay.
But then you realize that algebra is just not about one variable. It's the use of letters and symbols to represent numbers. So if you can bring it across to a student, for example, you would say, X plus 5 is equal to 6. What number plus 5 is equal to 6? You bring it to them, bring it across to them in that form, and then they realize that it's really 1 that is missing. Alright, so 1 plus 5 is equal to 6. And then you come across the process of how you get that, because many persons will come traditionally by saying you subtract 1 from both sides. Why are you subtracting 1 from both sides? What's the reason behind all of this? So if you bring it to them realistically, they'll get it. So that's my favorite concept.
Okay.
Algebra.
For me, my favorite concept is elementary statistics. And the reason for that is because whenever I teach this topic, it's real life application makes it so much more interesting towards the students, because they see how it is that they can use it in their everyday lives because of its practicality. And so for that reason, I find elementary statistics to be the most enjoyable topic to teach.
Okay, sounds good. So teachers, I hope you are now considering what is your most enjoyable concept to engage the students with. So my next question is, as it pertains to the examiner's report, fraction. Fraction continues to be a matter of concern. Seeing that we're here with Math Matters, it seems to be that the students continue to struggle with this. What do you think are some of the things that we can try to do better or do differently? And would you say that your students have similar difficulties?
Well, fraction is definitely one of those topics that students struggle with from the primary school level all the way up to the high school level. So what I try to do with my students is use the manipulatives a lot in class. We try to move from the chalk and talk and the rote learning, try to bring the manipulative to them so that they can see the practical application of it. And so fraction tiles is something that I definitely use in my classroom in order to help them with this concept a lot.
All right.
Quite frankly, I recently thought equivalent fraction was started because normally when I'm teaching a concept, I normally try to find out what they have learned before. So I use the prerequisite knowledge and I build from there. And so paper folding was one of the techniques that I used to incorporate such where the students are given blank sheets of paper and they would fold to see the several. And then from there we'll see that what is happening to the denominator, what is happening to the numerator. When you are changing from one numerator to another is multiplication or vice versa, division. So we build from the practical approach and then you bring it to the more advanced level. So yeah, I did taught equivalent fraction most recently. This is one of the methods that we can use. We have the manipulatives that we can use. For example, you'd have a half.
Right.
Right. And then you'd want to see which fractions are equivalent to a half. You know, you could put students in groups and have them select pieces. It's a trial and error situation, so they'll come about and see that if they fit these two pieces together, they're seeing that they're 2 quarters. So 2 quarters would make a half, and so these two are equivalent fractions.
All right, before you go any further, sometimes I think the teachers forget that for the stage 3, which is the one that maps closest to CSEC, the students are only engaging with half, quarters, and a third. And sometimes I think they go a little bit further and it helps to frustrate the process for the students. So another thing to encourage, I see what you're doing and I love it, and they can definitely use that. I do like the idea of that blank paper and folding it, because if you start with a half, you can fold it into quarters. And then you can now fold it to see if you can get the thirds, color it and see if they see how they hope they see that the quarter, you can't use thirds to make that half.
Right,
you know, you can't find that equivalency there. But it is important that our teachers stay with the curriculum. Make sure that they are fully aware of what is required for the students to cover, as not to frustrate the process. All right, thank you very much for that. So the manipulatives, and even if you don't have, the paper is awesome to use.
And videos.
And
videos are available.
All right, all right. Measurement is also something that we recognize as a weakness across all 3 stages of our students. What are some of the factors you think may contribute to this? How can we help students do better at measurement? How can we make measurement real to our students?
So one thing that we need to do is, again, try to bring in the real life application, because we use measurements every single day. And the students are not aware of this. When we tell the time, we're using measurements. With the weather, we're using measurements. So if we bring the real life scenarios to our students and actually use the items that we have within our households, it will definitely help them. Because here we have some measurement tools on the desk. Bring it to the class. Help them to use it, help them to see how it is applicable to them. What I also find is very helpful is when I take them to the home ec lab.
I was just going to say, what if I don't bake and I
take
don't
them
have
to
no
the home ec
things?
lab and allow them to use the instruments to make the application real to them. So we'd like buy one box of cake, and we would take turns in sharing out the instruments, the ingredients into the different measuring cups and using our spoons and stuff.
Oh, you mean
And
the cake mix?
The cake mix.
Oh, okay, because I said one box of cake. Oh. Okay,
The
so
box
you-
of cake mix, and
Right.
we would use that. And then
Oh.
we'd make a cake at the end of the day, so there's something that, you know, they are rewarded for their participation, and they are able to use the different measuring tools like the cup and the jugs, where they have ounces and quarts, and then we can bring in the whole conversion into it. So that's one of the ways that I think that we can assist our students in using the measurement and learning from it.
All right. Okay.
Volume 2, because a child would never know that this is 1 liter of fluid being placed in a vehicle.
So now
they can visually see that 1 liter of
So
fluid
your shape
of
and
fuel
space coming
looks
in.
just like that.
Okay. So now you're letting them see. So I can know. You can even extend it and say, so how many liters do you
Liters
think
would fill
will
the
bathe
tank.
you? Can you bathe with a liter of water? Do you think it's sufficient to use a liter of water to bathe? Or to just wash your face and brush your teeth? So yes, definitely. In the same measurement, perimeter and area seems to also be an area where the students struggle to differentiate when one or the other is required. How do we fix that? How do we, as educators, ensure that our students know which is which?
Well, we can definitely use our geoboards, and if you do not have geoboards, you can also use graph paper.
Yes.
Right? So what you can do is you have your geoboard, you have your elastic band, you will give them a particular, what I usually do is ask them to create their own shapes at first. Right? And then I would explain to them that this is actually 1 centimeter.
Okay.
And we will take out our rulers, we would actually measure it so that they would know, and I would ask them to identify what is the
All right.
length and the width. After explaining that, perimeter is the distance around or the boundary. And then ask them the question, in this case, what would the perimeter mean? So they need to be able to identify that the elastic band represents the perimeter or the boundary of the shape, and they would count each of the spokes in order to identify exactly what the perimeter is.
Yes.
And we would also have to start off by allowing them to find out, bringing in our numbers here, natural numbers and whole numbers. Do we start counting from 1, or do we start counting from 0? Because that's very, very important.
I was going to count from right here, 1, 2, 3,
Yes.
4.
So we'd have to highlight that fact as well, and bring in the whole aspects of types of numbers. So that's how the integration comes in, so that they do not lose that knowledge that they would have previously.
Okay. They could also use, I heard you said the centimeter, but you could just use units. Right. So if you are here, would you have covered a unit as yet? So if you make it clear that you have to cover 1 unit, that's 1. 2 units, 3, 4, 5, and they would count. From here to here, is it a unit? Those are things that we could definitely ask. So yes, this manipulative would help to bring some level of clarity to the concept of perimeter. And you said if we do not have this, we school not have much things and we don't have it. You did mention that the graph paper, which is easy and more accessible to use. What if the kids don't have the graph paper? What do I do? What if I have desktop though? And I have rulers?
You can measure.
So
as
they
well.
can
You
actually
measure as well.
find the perimeter of a space that they have.
Even the books that they have.
Because we do have our rulers, we have yardsticks.
There you go.
And it also helps with their conversion, because from here to here, they're supposed to know is an inch.
And
so you can also bring in
So
the
even if you have big hand and small hand?
other measures of units as well. I would also lend into the conversion, which was also an issue.
All right, because it did speak that standard units was also something that they found there was some weakness in how they applied themselves to those questions. The measurement is a real issue, and it is sad because measurement is so real. You could have the students, they're in a classroom. What is the difference? The perimeter of the class inside the class, let's use the perimeter of the inside of the class versus the area of inside the class.
Can have them walk the distance.
Because I don't want them to chop through the wall to find the perimeter of the room.
Can have them literally walk a distance.
There you go. So you could, those things are things that we could definitely use to have the students engage. A lot of times people think that these things are not for high school students. What's your take on that? So you'll see the teachers use it in their primary classes, maybe even first form, but as the students get older, they think that baby stuff. What could you say to the teachers out there who think manipulatives are for lower grades?
Howard Gardner speaks about multiple intelligences. I am a tactile learner. I have to be able to do, even if I'm at the university, I have to be able to touch, to see in order to understand. Not everybody can visually look on something and say, oh, I have to be literally touching something. So even though persons might say it is too elementary, no, there are students who are really learning because they're seeing it in real life. They're interacting with it. So no, I don't think it's elementary, and it should, because basically there are teachers who will consider just doing the traditional method because they'll not extend themselves. They're going to say these things are too expensive, but we can make them.
That's true.
We can literally make them. You can just get a piece of board and some nails. I did that the other day. You just get the small nails and you just pierce them in the board. You have the carpentry department. You can go and you can get one of those persons to do it. You can get even a student to create one of them. They have the machines. They use those. Just use up. The resources are there. It's just for us to use them.
And I also find that once the students use their hands in the whole learning process, it helps them to learn and understand better. And once they understand the concepts, then that's the first thing that they would need in order to be successful in their exams and in their everyday life. So whenever they use the manipulatives or any of the resources that they have within their disposal, it really, really helps the students to understand the concepts better. So it's very important that we try to use them at every single level.
So you hear that. You heard it. You heard it from our practitioners. Using the manipulatives in class is very important. It is not basic. It is not for primary school. It is for every student at all levels. Not all students learn the same. And we must cater to the different learning styles that we have in front of us. Some students require to touch, to feel, actually engage with different things in order for the concept to be fully understood. And that being said, use of manipulatives, whether they be made by companies out there selling them or within the wood shop or by the teachers or by the students, incorporate them in your class because it's not elementary. It is needed and it will help our students do better. Awesome stuff. Thank you so very much for that. I'll tell you, of course, I still have some questions. All right. When you are teaching the students, when you're engaging them, what topics you find, what topics or topic you find that they struggle with, even if it's a different cohort, a different group of students, what topic they struggle with the most?
Fraction. Fraction is a sore point, and that is why I extend myself to any workshop that is available, because I want to be able to learn it more myself so that I can transmit it to the students. Fraction is a sore point, and I think it's because they have not grasped it realistically, and that is why they're having a challenge with it. They can't see what a third looks like. They just see 1/3. What does the 1 represent? What does the 3 represent? Right? Why is there a fraction bar? What is a numerator? What is a denominator? So if they can really look on something and see it right now, my lesson plan is so filled with the manipulatives, whether I'm using them, the literal ones, or I'm doing videos, my lesson plans are filled with them because I want the students to be able to see that, hey, this is what we're doing in our daily life. This is going on. This is happening. Right? I know that we had spoken about it. The pizza is one such thing that can be used, even though it's not.
You have to cut it properly.
You can't cut it properly, really, but it is for them to see that, yes, if I have 6 slices of pizza, I take out 1 slice. It's 1 out of 6, and that's 1/6. And it's
there's a square pizza. You could use a
square
rectangle.
too, even though we can do that as well because they're all not circular. And then
Right.
also as educators, we have to be able to use the language effectively too.
Correct.
Because we're saying 1/6
No.
instead of 1/6.
Good.
Students are able to relate to the language of
Most
the subject.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because that 1/6 thing is two different numbers. 1/6 is a number. It is less than one whole. It is a part of that whole. So the language, I thank you so very much for bringing that up. The language in which we use to engage our students is important because they feel that you might think they're not paying attention, but it teaches them a little bit more when you use the correct language. When the math class is rich with the right math language, they do better as they engage in the subject. All right, awesome stuff. All right, so we talk about the fraction and we see that. All right, how do you encourage students to do City and Guilds versus CSEC? Well, you know, they kind of shy away from, although they're not managing. What do you do in your schools? Because this is unique to you. How do you let those students understand that City and Guilds is a viable option and that they should engage with the subject?
Well, the first thing that I do is to ensure that I have a workshop with my students and I show them the mapping of the CSEC and the City and Guilds.
Awesome
To show
stuff.
them that especially the stage 3 is so closely related to the CSEC exam that it should be a viable option. I also help them to see the practicality of the topics because depending on their career path that they're going in, they might not need to go so deep in the math content. And so the City and Guilds might be the best option for them, especially depending on the field of study that they choose. And based on that, I usually get a very good response from my students and they're more willing to sit the City and Guilds exam. Because I always try to encourage them to do at least stage 2 or stage 3.
Awesome. What say you?
Okay, so basically some students are really demotivated because they're saying, okay, I am not able to sit CSEC, especially parents coming, why you not my child do, you know, CSEC and so on. And it's a similar approach. We have to sell it to them, where I'm at. We have to sell it to them in the way that, hey, there are 3 stages. The diagnostic testing is what we use to place them, and based on what you had said prior to the panel discussion, you had mentioned that based on how we see the students, if they can advance from stage 1 to stage 2, that's what we do. So we allow the students to have a sense of worth, to say that, hey, I'm doing a math content, I'm doing something external, you know, I'm doing something, and when I leave here, I can show a sheet of paper that, hey, I've done math. And if I can't do CSEC, at least City and Guilds stage 3 can take me to university, because I think that's the most depressing part. I don't pass math, so I can't go to university, I can't continue. But there are several avenues, because heart, they can't leave there unless they are doing some level of City and Guilds mathematics.
Okay.
And so that's where we take it from, you know, whether it's NCT vet, whatever it is that they're doing, we try to sell math to them that, hey, if you can't do this. Even the other day I had CSEC class and there was a student, Miss, I can't manage. I have to go to City and Guilds because the content is, and I'm like, yes, you can. You come and you voluntarily choose to go. I'm not forcing you. I'm not saying you can't try to do, but if you see where you can't, there's another thing you can
There's an
do.
option.
Yeah, there's another option.
All right.
A
So
very good selling point too is internationally recognized.
Yes,
so
that's
anywhere the
internationally, yes.
students want to go, because a lot of my students, they're always thinking about migrating. So that's a big selling point for them as well. This is one of the only exams that they can do that they can use elsewhere.
Internationally. All right, so you heard it from our 2 panelists today. So City and Guilds, being an internationally certified exam, is a selling point for the students to remember that City and Guilds math is a viable option. You also spoke about the fact that you allow them to recognize their abilities and realize that they can choose to do one or the other. Also, the conversation you spoke about, talking to your students is important. What field of study are they preparing for? That in mind, they can better make informed choices, informed decision in the content that they engage with. So teachers out there, remember that you can have City and Guilds is offered at stage 1, 2, or 3. We did mention earlier that completing a stage in City and Guilds can prepare a child to sit the CSEC exam, as well as doing a stage in City and Guilds can prepare a child to enter the work world and also enter a tertiary institution to continue their educational journey. All right, awesome stuff. So we're wrapping up now. If you were to encourage a teacher who is teaching City and Guilds for the first time, but they would have taught CSEC over the years, what would be some of the things that you'd say to them? Because sometimes people, they're a little bit hesitant to try a new curriculum. What are some things that you would probably say for them to be comfortable and understand that they can do this?
The first thing I'll present is the examiner's report, to be honest with you, because to know that I have this instrument available to me, that I can believe it, I'll be passing it on to my department persons, because I did not know that so many areas are of weakness. And so we teach, but then we may not go in depth with certain things.
We don't target certain things. And then you spoke about just teaching through. You don't plan. And if you don't plan, then that's not going to guide us. If you had mentioned stage 1, you spoke about the language. You said, make the connection. This is plus. What does plus look like? What does division look like? There you go.
So I think it's how the examination is sold to us as educators. That's how we sell it back to our students.
Love it.
So the fact that we have this instrument that we can put forward to our colleagues, hey, these are the weaknesses and these are coming from the lower stages all the way up, because we're seeing fractions, and we're coming back to it, we're seeing fractions right down from grade 7 all the way to grade 11. The students are still adding across, right? So if they can see this and say, all right, here we have this, and these are the weaknesses, and it's not just the City and Guilds content, it's a CSEC content as well, because if they're weak in this area, once they need this as a prerequisite to move on, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to be teaching something more advanced and you don't get a prerequisite skills. It's going to be a challenge, right? So I'll start from the report.
What I like to do is to tell them to go through the handbook and try to stick to it closely, because as you stated before, a lot of times I think the teachers sometimes put a little bit too much pressure on the students. Because especially with the fractions, we look at halves, thirds, and quarters.
Right.
But whenever we're teaching, we do not stop there. We go on, and it can be very frustrating. So go through the handbook, because City and Guilds is very deliberate in what it is that they require the students to learn. So find out exactly what it is that the students need to know. Do not shy away from using the manipulatives in the classroom as well, because once they have the fundamentals down, it will take them very far. And 2, use the past paper questions, because whenever I am teaching a topic or a unit, I try to always incorporate how the questions will come in the exam. So I'll bring the questions out within the classroom so that they can get an understanding as to how it is that the questions are presented to the students. So that's also very important. So those are the 3 things that I'd encourage all new teachers to do. Get to know your handbook, use the manipulatives, and use the resources that City and Guilds gives us, like our specimen papers.
You heard it, because math matters. So as Camille spoke about, she spoke about looking at the examiner's report to help guide instruction as you take up a new cohort. All right, and it is important to know the issues that were there in the previous year, so that you can help to remedy the problem and get the students beyond that. Mrs. Parnell, Dominique spoke about how she would recommend make yourself fully aware of what is in the syllabus, right? Whether you're engaging in stage 1, 2, or 3, read it. Look at the handbook that is provided. She also spoke about using the manipulatives that are available, and you spoke about something else, which I don't remember.
The questions.
The question, the specimen paper. Good. Another practice that I would love for teachers to do, because sometimes we, I don't want to say dumb down, but sometimes we limit our students. When you're engaging the students with the questions in the specimen paper at first, remove the options. Remove the options because the options tailor their thinking initially. Remove the options and give them the question and let them think. Develop critical thinkers. After you give them a chance to think, what are the possible answers for these? Put back the options. Because now they would have thought, they would have gone all over the place, all under the table, over the mountain. You put the options back. You bring them back. And now you kind of let them see where they should be thinking, right? So it's a technique to build critical thinkers. They think wide, the options, tailor them back, because they will be given the options for the exam paper. So those are things that we could definitely use to engage the students. All right, so. Sure.
Another topic you spoke about was rounding off. Approximation.
Yes, rounding off was an issue.
Literally taking receipts into the classroom so the students can see their bills and see how much money did you pay? Did you pay this amount of cents? Did you pay in cents? What do cents look like in Jamaican dollar? Do we have the red cents anymore? You know, have them interact with it. How much did you pay? How much change did you receive? So you're literally making math come to life.
Awesome. In City and Guilds, a lot of the measurement talks about like medicine, baking, cooking. It's so real. And you did mention going to the home ec lab. The home ec lab. Measurement is so visible in other subjects. The science lab, the home ec lab. You mentioned the woodwork. Good. So all those things, if we find time to collaborate with our co-workers, you know, so that your building teacher can explain the relevance of measuring that furniture properly, because you don't want that dresser one side lopsided, you know, kind of left and never too right, the bed foot longer than this one over there. So you want them, those specialist teachers, to come in and tell you how important it is for measurements to be accurate. Same thing in the building industry, the construction. If you are mixing cement, sand and water, that is it, right, gravel, it's ratio, it's proportional ratio.
Yeah.
So if you are going to build at this area, a particular area, you're going to cast it. You see me, I use my terms that you're going to cast this area and you have a certain mixture. If the people say, you know what happened, cast all of this area. Clearly, we need more cement, we need more gravel, we need more sand. The ratio and proportion is real. And if we engage the students with things that they can relate to, they all know this. Everybody know a workman around the community. You can show this child how this mason is applying ratio to make sure that when you mix it, you know, white when it dry, it's just the right color. You know, see the gravel them through the hole. You've seen a smooth wall. All of those things are real things that if we properly engage our students, we would see more out of them. All right? City and Guilds is a viable option. It's a math option out there, and we need to better engage our students. And you made a very important point, Camille. You said, how is City and Guilds so to us, the teachers? How are we engaged to teach the students well is important. So, you know, administrators out there, get your teachers fully informed as you incorporate City and Guilds in your curriculum. Let them know what the subject is about. Let them let them have their handbooks so they can use it. And too often we think that, you know, you don't need to follow plans to teach the subject, and you overteach or underteach a concept. So as Mrs. Parnell said, use your handbook. Look at the depth and range of the concept that you're engaging your students in, so you don't stress them out and overwork yourself as well. So those are the things that we need to pay very good and close attention to as we engage the students of 2024 to 2025 with City and Guilds Math. Because what? Math what?
Math matters.
Math matters. Well, we thank you so very much. Are there anything else? Is there anything else you would like to, encourage teachers out there who are engaging in math, City and Guilds, to pay attention to as they engage the students for this academic year?
Well, one thing that you highlighted that I'd really like to reiterate is to get the expertise from the persons in the field, because one of the things that you mentioned, or the examiner's report mentioned, was temperature.
Yes.
Which is something that we use every single day. Every school has a nurse. Get the nurse involved. Every school also has a science lab. Get the lab tech involved. Have the students know how to take the temperature of hot water, cold water, room temperature water. Because as I stated, City and Guilds is very practical, so they ask you everyday questions.
Okay.
What would the temperature be like in summer?
Okay.
Those are some of the questions that relate to temperature that they can possibly get. How would they know that? We need to expose them to it. So if we have the expertise in the different fields, let the students get exposure to them.
Okay.
Right? So that they know the real world application, because we need to make math very real. That's the only way the students are going to 100% grasp the concepts. So I'd encourage teachers in your planning, try to see how it is that you can make math real.
Okay. I'm going to give you a chance before you go there. Just as was said by Dominic a while ago, it is important to also pay attention to the type of questions for each concept that you're engaging with. So now, how are the question asked is important. She mentioned that the question, what temperature would a day in summer be like? That's something that you probably need to engage your students with, because if they're not paying attention to temperature, they may never really think about that. So look at the type of questions, because there are several specimen papers that you will be privy to from the rep office. So use those, look at the sample question and engage the students accordingly. Yes, Camille?
Share best practices.
Look at you.
Something worked for you, just share it with a colleague.
There you go.
This may be able to work. Get involved in workshops. City and Guilds is right here. Have them speak to somebody, call somebody, speak to your HOD. I want to go to our next workshop. Update me on when another one is coming around. Just share best practices, because that is how we're going to be able to function. It's not all about us as educators, it's about the students. Because once they look good, we look good.
That's right. That is correct, because what? Math matters. All right, so that is great. Best practices is always a good way to go about engaging your students. Look, and even before you go outside of your school, look among yourselves. Who is doing well with different concepts within your department, within your school? Rely on your colleagues. And then, of course, you belong to QECs. Reach out in your QECs and engage those persons who are getting very good results in City and Guilds. Ask them what they're doing and employ them within your own schools. So as we prepare for our students, remember, they all learn differently. Use the manipulatives that are available. Pay attention to the handbook about the depth and width of the content. Look at the questions and how they're formulated to better engage your students. Do not overstretch the content and frustrate self and students. Pay attention to what you're doing and do your best. We look forward to increased performance in our 2025 June exam. Thank you so very much, Camille and Dominic, for coming on today. And we say, until next time, because math matters.
Thank you, Mrs. Fenton, Miss Parnell, and Miss Simpson. Your expertise and knowledge shared here today is well appreciated, and it's our hope that the teachers will take it back to their classrooms as they deliver the lessons. Remember, if you have any questions or require any additional information, please feel free to contact us at the information listed below.